This is why animals die when this fish is walking on land. Hello lovely YouTube family, welcome back to Double OB. In today's video, we are going to talk about why animals die when a fish is walking on land. Before we start, I would want you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Here we begin. 6 years ago, Australia sounded the alarm. A fish capable of exterminating animals on land had approached. Local scientists predicted it could upset the balance and change the ecosystem of the continent forever. Dozens of species wouldn't have a chance to survive. How could a small fish do anything like this? Well, let's look into it. You probably know that many years ago, fish got out of the water and onto the land, but at that time it looked like this, or something like that. Back then, the water was too crowded and there wasn't enough oxygen for everyone anymore. There were no predators on land, only insects crawling around. So fish grew paws and lungs, became amphibians, and then a few million years later, here we are, okay? However, these fish have a slightly different purpose because they're not planning to evolve. Meet the Anubis testudenius, commonly known as climbing perch. They pose a real danger to all living things. If you need to be bigger to be a threat, think of the Argentine ants that are slowly taking over the world. Compared to them, the climbing perch fish are still pretty big, grow up to 9.8 inches in length, and don't live in colonies. But that doesn't stop them from threatening any other species. See, that sharp dorsal fin, it's only part of the climbing perch's armament. Their gill covers can change their position and are equipped with sharp needles. The fish use them to move around on land and to suffocate their enemies from the inside. Once a predator has swallowed a climbing perch, it will straighten its fins, expose its needles, and get stuck in the predator's throat. Sometimes this means instant death from lack of oxygen. While sometimes it causes a slower death from hunger, anyone who takes a bite can end up in that situation. If they decide to swallow a climbing perch, larger fish, birds, turtles, even mammals, this fish won't make exceptions for anyone. Even holding it in your hands is a challenge. Both the gill covers and the fins are very sharp, and it's like trying to grab a very hot potato which also wriggles. Let's suppose that birds start eating the climbing perch and their population starts reducing. What's the big deal? It's natural selection and all that, right? Unfortunately, this works only in regions where the perch fish is already a part of the ecosystem. If they arrive at a new place, they can ruin everything. For example, the lack of birds can eventually lead to an increase in rodents or crop-destroying insects, which is a serious problem. Up to 40% of the world's crops are already lost to plant pests and diseases. Insects alone cause $70 billion in damage each year. They're doing quite well, even without the help of the climbing perch. Reducing the number of birds is just crazy, but the climbing perch doesn't care about any of that. They just take over new territories, and if someone tries to eat them, well, that's their problem. The climbing perch isn't interested in this domino effect where another follows one endangered species. Then by a third one, and so on until everything around changes. Of course, we shouldn't judge them. After all, they're simply fish boom fish that cause big trouble. But where did they come from in the first place? As is often the case, scientists take a long time before studying the really important things. We don't know exactly where the climbing perch came from, but they probably appeared in Southeast Asia. Over the past 4 decades, they've made their way south through Indonesia, and they don't plan to stop apart from killing predators. The climbing perch can adapt easily like other fish that have learned to go on land. They always have a plan B. If the waters where they live are too crowded, the climbing perch can get out and crawl into another body of water. If that one dries up, they'll just wade in the mud or find another place to live. Not enough food? They can get out on land. There should be something else there. Wow, these fish are cooler than Schwarzenegger. If you're a fish, don't you think that's a bit of a contradiction? Climbing perch have figured it out and have grown a special organ for breathing on land. It holds some water and hydrates the gills, allowing the fish to live without water for days. But the climbing perch needs to keep its entire body moist to feel good. So the fish prefers to travel at night or in the early morning when there's still dew. But you can't just go from India to Australia on dew. After all, there are seas of different straits long distances. So the climbing perch hits your ride. They cling to the bottom of fishing boats and go wherever it takes them. It's very convenient when you can live in waters with different salinity. Isn't it a plus? A person can bring a climbing perch with them after accidentally catching them with the rest of the fish. Suppose climbing perches have already learned to pretend to be dead so that when they get to a new territory, they can just get out of the boat and go about their business. This is how the climbing perch are expanding their influence, getting closer and closer to Australia, and since the local species evolved independently of the rest of the planet. One can only guess what kind of blow the newcomers can inflict. People are taught to recognize the climbing perch and immediately report them to the authorities. Perhaps the police. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Superman. Are you crazy? It's a climbing perch. We have to inform the authorities. Yeah, it's that serious. News about the climbing perch approaching Australia sounded like a declaration of war. Native species can be as deadly as they want, but they're just not used to such an adversary. Imagine a cactus that suddenly grew where no one had ever seen a cactus and was not prepared for it. Animals are curious. They try to eat the spikes. They hurt themselves, and at best they get injured. The same thing will happen with the fish, even if the spikes are pretty similar, and it'll take more than a century to get used to such a neighbor and learn to live next to it. If you can get used to a climbing perch at all, where are all the Steves? Haven't you heard they went to another lake? Finally, in a familiar environment, native species know their limits. Predators already know how to eat, prey, learn to fight back, and add to this the climatic conditions. All of this creates a fragile but perfect balance, but as soon as some resilient species get in the way, everything becomes chaos. Such species are known as invasive, and in most cases, they are brought into new territory by humans, sometimes by accident, but the effect is still impressive. For example, at the end of World War II, the brown tree snake was accidentally brought to Guam. Perhaps the snake was in the cargo or even climbed in by the landing gear and ended up in paradise. This means we have to stop those animals that are trying to take over new territories. Among other things, something will have to be done so that the climbing perch shall not pass. Fish out every fish we can get our hands on would help, but only for a while before the climbing perch breeds comfortably again. Then maybe poison. The local fish would be poisoned along with them. What's the point then? So it's pretty much the same. First, something happens because of human activity, and then this something needs to be fixed, and by the way, what about Australia? Enough time has passed since the first alarming reports have the fish made it down there. Well, it looks like somehow people managed to slow them down, or they got there and now there's no one to tell us about the disaster. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing video from us.